Private schools in India now educate roughly one-third of all students nationwide, with their share exceeding 50% in several southern states. Notably, about 70% of government schools educate only 50% of students, while 23% of private schools educate 36% of the nation's learners. This indicates a high concentration of students in a relatively small number of private schools, reflecting parental demand, local accessibility, and the growing role of private schooling in India's education landscape. Contrary to popular belief, private schooling is not an elite phenomenon. Across many states, between 70 and 85% of students in private schools attend low-fee private schools or budget schools. These are small, community-based schools that remain affordable for daily wage earners and primarily serve low and middle-income households. They function with modest infrastructure and operate on lean budgets.
In India, because of lack of political will, there is a very clear decline in the quality of delivery in the government schools. Therefore, the parents who are conscious of the importance of education in shaping the future of the families, they are forced to look up for the other agencies which come forward that provide better education to their children. And that is the reason the schools, private schools have come up. But here there is a small hitch. Not all families are capable of going for such paying for hectic fees for the private schools. Therefore, there is a need that in the given budget of the aspiring low income families, there is a need for the existence of the budget private schools where they collect somewhere fees between 200 to 1000 per a month and provide education to their children. That is the very reason why the budget private schools have come into existence, as well as they are trusted by parents, and that is the reason there is a vast number. We have seen during the last 10 years, there is a very big exodus of the students from government schools into the budget private schools.
Despite strong parental perceptions of quality, evidence suggests private schools perform only marginally better than government schools in learning outcomes. Broader learning gaps remain, and without systemic reforms, these gaps are likely to persist.
Why this is happening, it also related with the policies. That's how I see these challenges, right? Because one end, there is a lot of regulations are there. Like there is a regulatory overload with the limited support. I would say there is zero support from the government, right? But there is a kind of a regulatory overload is there. Each and every aspect, the institution, the management should suffer with a lot of regulatory barriers. Even from starting the school itself, like we always talk about the ease of opening schools is a very big challenge. But let's talk about once open the school, how they are having the autonomy to choose certain things. They don't have the autonomy to choose their textbooks. There is a intervention of NCERT. There is an intervention of government is there. So they are kind of binded with all these regulatory barriers. So because earlier when we say there are a lot of learning outcomes, because it's more focused on learning outcomes in the private institution. But recently, particularly, like I would mark this as like 2009, because the Right to Education Act came in place, because that was the very first kind of a milestone where all the private institutions were focused to force them to comply in certain regulations, right? Earlier, it was more on like state level, but that was the central level. And it was created more of like kind of a political move, right? So these kind of acts really force the institutions to put more focus on the regulatory barriers. And really the school managements, even the teachers, they don't have the peaceful mind, or they don't have the time to put more focus on the learning outcomes. School management cannot decide the textbooks. The school management cannot decide what kind of different programs they can provide to the students, right? Earlier, the private institutions were very much keen of introducing different programs, like supported by many organizations, supported by different companies. So this is the ecosystem exists at the schools, and this obviously reflect in the learning outcomes.
So one is that regulatory and policy related causes are there, where there is an over regulation with little autonomy given to the schools. When it comes to multiplicity of laws, also there is a fragmented governance. Because of that, there is a lot of confusion, okay, between the state and central, and it is causing a lot of burden instead of focusing on teaching learning. Okay, then coming to a lack of proper implementation of NEP also. Like very lofty introduction is made, but so far a detailed implementation is not done. Even budget is not provided, proper staffing is not done. It is not percolated, okay, to the school level at all. And absence of effective monitoring also from the department, and accountability is like put on the schools, but where is the accountability of the Department of Education's accountability is not at all there. The government accountability that they should stand to certain things is not at all there. Now let us come to the point two, is like teacher related causes. Okay, there is a lot of shortage of qualified teachers. See, especially in Andhra and Telangana, because of the lack of teacher recruitment in the government sector, almost hundreds of B.Ed and D.Ed colleges are closed. So there is no teacher training, and there is even UNESCO report also very clearly tells there is almost 11 lakhs school teachers shortage at the nationwide. Okay, and coming to low teacher motivation, because of the low pay, any good qualified graduate is tending to go towards other job profiles rather than coming to teaching. Okay, so there is a very little motivation for that, especially in low budget private schools. There is social recognition is missing. Like when I went to Finland, a teacher proudly tells, and you ask the students in any school, what is your first choice to settle in life? The profession they choose is teaching. So that social recognition and kind of satisfaction, payment, everything is guaranteed there. Now here that motivation is missing. And third factor is outdated teacher training.
The regulatory architecture for private schools, especially low-fee private schools, is built around overly detailed, input-heavy prescriptions that have weak links to learning outcomes. Many states impose minute prescriptive standards that focus on the physical characteristics of a school rather than the quality of instruction.
Currently, for any individual to start their own school, they had to get NOC from multiple departments like fire, electricity, works, police, water and sanitation, local bodies, right? And each of that department's NOC takes time. They have to physically visit those departments, and then after that, it also crosses 3 to 4 layers till the state level, right? Even though it's at a like a block level, it reaches till the state level for getting approval, right? So this time approximately takes around 6 to 9 months.
Annual renewals of no objection certificates create layers of administrative work without necessarily improving educational quality or safety. In several states, including Tamil Nadu and Kerala, short recognition validity periods further increase the burden on schools. There are highly detailed norms in some states, such as Kerala, where regulations even specify window sizes, furniture dimensions, and exact classroom measurements. While well-intentioned, these micro-level requirements often add to compliance burden without corresponding educational value, and in some cases, increase the risk of derecognition. Tamil Nadu and Karnataka's rule that schools must be located on a single contiguous plot of land can be quite challenging in dense urban areas, where land parcels are often fragmented. The rule, however, does not reflect the safety and functionality of schools operating in cities. Minor deviations, even when they pose no safety risk, can lead to derecognition. Similarly, several states prescribe standardized curricula with limited flexibility. For low-fee schools, which often serve students from diverse, economically vulnerable backgrounds, rigid curricular mandates limit context and need specific teaching and dampen pedagogical innovation. Collectively, these mandates fail to distinguish between a large, well-resourced private school and a small, low-fee private school serving a low-income neighborhood. The overall regulatory package ends up consuming scarce low-fee private school capacity rather than enhancing classroom instruction. Compliance frameworks should prioritize basic safety, hygiene, and building stability and not micromanage infrastructure specifications or rigid curricular prescriptions. Remove overly prescriptive physical norms. Eliminate requirements that do not compromise safety, health, or hygiene, such as mandatory single contiguous plot rules or fixed window and furniture dimensions. Create a separate category for budget schools that apply context-specific regulations on infrastructure or curriculum. Exclude low-fee private schools from the fee cap. Low-fee private schools operate on lean margins. Fee caps can destabilize them without improving learning or affordability. Enable shared infrastructure for recognition eligibility. Allow schools to meet specific infrastructure criteria through shared or community-based resources, such as access to government playgrounds, parks, school-to-school partnerships, or CSR-supported facilities. Create a single-window system for submitting and processing applications across multiple departments. Set up an independent authority tasked with overseeing and maintaining the quality of education in both government and private schools. Meanwhile, state governments could adopt a more facilitative role, providing targeted support to low-fee private schools to help them improve learning outcomes and educational metrics. Currently, around 22,000 private schools remain unrecognized, not primarily due to poor learning outcomes, but because they fail to comply with right to education infrastructure norms. To truly enhance learning outcomes and improve access to diverse education, regulatory frameworks must shift from rigid, input-focused compliance to a more flexible, outcome-oriented approach, one that supports schools in improving teaching quality rather than penalizing them for structural shortcomings.